Now I'm thinking today we should be able to get all of the metals produced, all of the metals that I'm after inside of our foundry, which has been quite the project. It may not seem like it's taking up a whole lot of space, but I mean, honestly, perspective matters because this is quite a large area and a lot of infrastructure going on to get this all up and running. But before we get back into this, well, there was a few things that I wanted to get done over on Twitch, and I do stream quite often, so definitely be sure to check me out over at twitch.tv/ChosenArchitect, and there was some minor projects that I needed to get finished up. For example, our train tunnel that goes all the way down here and off into the distance where we are producing our XP, I really wanted to get that finished and get it looking a little bit nicer. And so that's what I worked on. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and roll that time lapse. Now, I'll tell you what, I think this turned out way better than I was honestly expecting because I wasn't expecting the mud and the brick to connect so good together. And I decided to try something new and use like tough, but use the pillars on its side. And it almost gives this like metal sheeting sort of look. And the more I look at this, the more I'm like, that's straight up a garage door. Like those look like garage doors. I should have used that pattern for all of my garage doors, but I did set this also for the roof here, so this entire interior section just looks so much nicer. I mean, it is definitely nicer, and for good reason. I need this to look nicer because this is going to be functional very, very soon. Remember, I've got to get this blaze over here to connect in to Stam's farm that he's going to be making to hopefully produce some redstone and allow us to actually have some redstone to use, like whenever we get brass up and running, for example, which should happen by the end of today. But this train right here, even though it does go through this area, I don't know if this is the train that I want to use for this. I think this is going to require our own train specifically for this operation. So it'll be time to build new trains or a new train specifically for this, since it's got to go so far out to get to Stam's area. But anyways, that is another day and another episode, because today we essentially need to finish up producing all of our metal and hopefully start making that beautiful, beautiful brass alongside it. And so just in case you missed last episode, we have all of this running and it's currently voiding off stuff. So the things it's voiding, well, right now is our iron, which we are going to have stored in a vault. This will be solved very, very soon. And then we're also technically voiding off all of the tuff that's being generated and the dripstone that's being generated. This whole setup here is quite literally only producing those 3 items, but I did set it up so that way once those 3 items overflow, then we should start to see the other products. For example, it can also produce andesite and granite, and that's pretty huge as well. And then technically, if those things fill up, then we start producing red sand and flint. So we are going to make sure that we have storages for all those things, and then fail safes to drain those things if they do become full. And if at all the byproduct sand, for example, the red sand or the flint builds up, I probably want to set up a system to make sure this shuts off, because I just don't want it constantly running, because this is one of those projects that I could honestly benefit from it being shut off. It's quite large. Okay, but enough of me yapping about this whole thing. I think it's time for me to actually get into it. And I've already decided I need another cobblestone module. Yes, I need a cobblestone module that needs to be over here. And just like I thought, but I didn't set it up, this one has to be dedicated to specifically farming flint. And to farm flint is very, very interesting. We need to make cobblestone, and we need to turn that into gravel, and then we need to mill the gravel. So it looks like I'm going to be making myself some sort of mill module that's going to go here, dedicated to making flint. Now I've got the cobblestone generator in, but I'm trying to figure out how could I set up these millstones to be able to keep up with the actual supply of gravel that's going to be going into this setup. And I think this might solve it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But I'm pretty sure we are producing like 19 gravel per operation, which probably means spitting out like 19 gravel. And this can really only process about 1 gravel per operation, but we'll have to kind of test this. I think this flint generator is going to be pretty satisfying. We need to make sure this accepts items in. I just don't know if this is going to be enough of them. But like I said, we'll be able to get this all tested up. And you can see I'm splitting them because we can't unfortunately have a funnel on the same side. And then all of that flint is going to be output over here. And yeah, we can run this with just regular brass funnels because this only does 1 item at a time. And these also void items too. If the internal buffer fills up, for some reason, it just starts voiding the items. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's intended, but I have noticed that because it was just completely over in my chocolate factory, eating all of my wheat. So I guess let's go ahead and turn this on. So that is going to start producing cobblestone. There it goes. All of the gravel goes in. Okay, and then I need to shut it off, and then we got to get power to all of our mills. And power to the mills should be as easy as placing like a shaft here, and then we can use a vertical gearbox to get the power running up, and we'll just place in, just like this, all of our cogs. So yes, this is already starting to produce flint, but really what I want to see is, are we going to end up with overflow? Like, is this cobble gen going to be producing so much gravel that all of these aren't able to keep up? And we're probably going to be able to find that out pretty quickly. If we start seeing gravel getting shot out of here, then we know that we don't have enough mills. And yeah, that didn't actually take very long. And you can see it is spitting out so much flint, which I'm pretty sure is going to be enough to handle all of the things we need. So you know what? I think what I'm going to do is probably just leave it here because this is already overkill. And then we'll just put a trapdoor to prevent the buildup on here for the gravel. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I just generated another gravel farm, so I can add another vault in here that is also producing more gravel, because if you haven't seen already, I kind of need all the gravel I can get. So whatever doesn't get actually used over here for the flint, I'm down. So I have this blocked off for right now, but this is going to hopefully ramp the flint over onto this belt. That then gets ramped onto this belt, and we're going to be tossing items into the sky. It's just a lot going on here. So let's get that kicked on, and then we can kick on all of the rest of these and just see how good the actual flow is going to be of all of our processing block areas, because these modules right here are the most important. We need these to be able to maximize, well, the amount of material we're producing. Oh boy, that's kind of a problem, isn't it? I mean, honestly, at this point, do I even need do I even need this belt? I don't think so. I do know what is happening here, and it might be resolved by simply having like some sort of buffer chest. So we could put this here and we just say, hey, only send out 64 at a time, and then regular funnel on this side to make sure it accepts all the items fast enough. Oh my gosh, I still don't even think that's fast enough. We might need buffers on each of these sections. So now by adding these buffers in here, it does seem like it is working a lot better. And we still get this hilarious effect where we're just straight up shooting flint through the air. But now this is really interesting. We do seem to have an actual overflow that has started, and the overflow, even though this is getting voided, it seems like we're producing more andesite than we're actually using, and then sometimes we're producing more granite than we're actually using. Oh, no, definitely granite is still lacking. But I mean, I think that is it's definitely because of the lack of clay and just how slow the clay processing is. Now with all of this fun set up, and I have everything routed onto the sorting belt, this is where things really start to ramp up. I am going to need 11 full-size vaults. I kind of did the calculation, and these are all the materials we are technically going to be producing indefinitely from this setup. And it's a lot. That also means storage, and I do want to set up max size vaults for all of these. I mean, I have them all, so I'm just going to use it. Like, we are infinitely producing vaults, so I mean, more storage. But now to be able to get those vaults, I'm going to need about 14 stacks of item vaults. So now, beautiful. I have all 14 stacks, give or take, that we're going to need after kind of crushing a bunch of iron. Yeah, a bunch of iron, making a lot of barrels. Because yeah, it seems like vaults are pretty popular here in the good old mall, and I was actually all out. I mean, I guess that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think I'm about to hit yeah, inside of my shop there. I'm very close to having an entire shulker box worth of diamonds that I haven't pulled out. This whole setup is going to look absolutely absurd. There are so many vaults here. Now, getting all of these vaults up and running, it looks absolutely glorious, but now we've got to get all of the items inside of the vaults and start getting filters set up so that way we can house all of these. Now, ultimately, brass is going to be the thing that ends up in this far vault. Then we'll probably have zinc, copper, and iron in these vaults, and then the rest of these vaults are going to be in order based off of this list right here. Now, we don't have to worry about filling these vaults with this belt line, so that's not going to be an issue. I think what we're going to end up doing here is literally handle the processing of these items by pulling from the top of the actual resource vaults, pulling those and then sending them over here to then be processed. I think this might allow us to have like this sort of overflow handling solution. That way it kind of goes as follows. The materials that are iron and metal and stuff like that, those overflow first. When those overflow, that will then back up the belt, allowing these containers to start filling up with those products, and so on and so forth. So that way it ends up with like this cascading effect where we still also gain some resources out of this outside of just the metal. So yeah, we'll have our 4 different metal types, and then after the 4 different metal types, we'll probably put like tough here, and then we'll also put the dripstone here. That way they're closer to the area where they will be processed. And then we'll end up taking like the copper and the zinc and turning those into brass and making sure that's here. All of those things also cascading. You know, sometimes my brain is braining, and I think it's trying to brain in this sort of this way of automating, which I don't use quite often. Now, to make sure this belt can handle everything, I recommend definitely setting up a buffer. I keep calling these buffers because that's what it is. We are essentially going to be taking in multiple items, just like you see here, but what we want to do is make sure we turn those individual stacks into actual stacks, saving us a lot of space on this belt. Because at the end of the day, belts have a transfer limit. They can only send so much. And I know that we could technically run this over here and have some packages and stuff like that, but what I really want is I want this belt to, if filled up, then just void the items down the road. And that's something that is a little bit harder to do if you are using the frogport system. But I mean, there is a way you could do this, but you'd have to make sure that you don't have frogports backing up. The way you would do it is if you had a frogport, you would have a frogport that is a trash frogport, and you just make sure with your reg that it is going to be able to get to it first. And then if that frog port is full, it will then try to go to the next one. Or at least that's my interpretation of how the frog ports work. So yeah, you could technically still void. I just want to make that clear. So let's get our belt handling set up. So I think the last thing on the list is going to have to be flint, then probably gravel. And then we work our way up, right? So red sand, I think, will then go here. I don't have any red sand on me just yet, but I'll get some here in a minute. And then on this side is where we start getting into like andesite and granite. So we can put andesite in here, granite on the next one. And then we move into dripstone and tuff. And I think if I've done everything correctly, that should be it before we get into metal. And then we can put iron here. This one is also going to be handled on the belt. We just need to get iron ingot. So iron ingot and red sand. Now I think I'm almost ready to turn this on. I've got to get all of the belts running in. You can just see that collected its resources. Oh man. All right. And then down here at the end, we are going to need like a chute that drops things down into a lava pit just as an overflow protection. And so a little bit of a boop, and I think setting this up will do just fine. And so I think I'm ready. I'm ready to kick this on and then start processing all of the different metals. Which it does feel super rewarding that we've made it this far already. Let's kick this on, this one on, and we're doing this all again. I need to get like a full redstone setup for this. I think that we can easily do that and have just one major shut off. But yes, this is all going to start processing. And then before I know it, I should start seeing items flowing onto this belt. We already got items coming in. This is gravel, which we're going to have quite a bit of gravel also flooding in. And then that gravel is going to fill in that vault. And yes, if that vault fills up, thankfully, we don't really have to worry about it anymore because, yeah, the items, if that vault overflows, we'll just send that gravel down here to then be scrapped. So now we have the metals that we have to worry about. And these metals are going to need their own processes that need to happen. For example, I need to take the product from these vaults over here, for example, tuff. And if I want to make, I think copper actually over here. So we need to take dripstone, and I need to get dripstone into this vault. So to be able to actually process this, we need to crush the dripstone, just like so. You can see this recipe right here, dripstone, which is going to produce clay and also copper. Now the clay I am going to get rid of. This is just an unfortunate byproduct that is produced here. But the module is still going to be very similar. So we are going to have an output that sends the items right here. I've got to figure out though, like what am I going to do with, yeah, I still don't actually know. How am I going to avoid that pesky clay? But either way, we just need to crush the items and then have a press right into the top to be able to convert it. And then that will then get output immediately into the vault. So this will work for the zinc one, which is very easy. Doesn't have any byproducts. It literally just is turning tuff directly into zinc. The clay, however, I've got an idea. So what I could do for this instead is I can have this be the output. And then we could just use a funnel on the inside, a brass funnel, and we could output the clay, and then I'll just have a little lava patch directly on top, and then our regular chute will be filtered to filter out the correct item that is being pressed, which will be copper. A little quick filtering here, and also making sure the recipe is set in there. I mean, we are almost ready to go. We'll put a couple of trapdoors on here to house that beautiful lava, for which everything gets voided. And perfect, we have a module. We just got to get some power running to this. Now for this one, I'm going to have the belt run right up to this chute. Yes, for the other module that I set up on the other one to have this processed, I'm thinking I'm probably going to need to move this either forward or back one. Now that I have the processing module set up for both of them, basically the same for both, I want to go ahead and get them turned on and then start working on the brass. Now, for the output of this, I think what I'm going to do is 16 at a time. So let's set this to 16. Oh man, you can already see that processing. The reason why I want to do 16 at a time is because 16 stacks are handled a lot better here. And I'm almost positive, yeah, this is going to max out. So notice this whole line here, it's running pretty quick, and we are definitely maxing out, yeah, this basin. Interesting. And yeah, the same for the other side on our tuff. We'll just go ahead and get that set in place and set that to 16. Beautiful. So now we are producing copper and we're also producing zinc indefinitely. This is what I love seeing. Oh, this is so good. Now for the brass, we're going to have to maintain a heated blaze burner. And I'm going to need to send that copper and zinc in here to produce brass. And I think this is going to be one of the best ways to do it. We will have a basin that goes directly on the top of this. Oh, and it is going to have to be raised one higher, it looks like. Yep, I think that is, yeah, that's going to be necessary. Which, I mean, isn't too bad. So we'll place the blaze burner 1 taller. And then the basin on top of that. And then what we can do is we can funnel into both of these sides and then just have it drop down here into the vault itself. This is a mixer recipe, so we are going to need a mixer, and then we will just need the 2 funnels on both sides. And I think for the actual output, it might be best to just do regular chutes and just have it funnel the output out like that. So now I'm going to get the lava in here, and we should be able to just simply take a pipe and give this some lava. And what we can do is we can have a bucket back here, and we can say, hey, tell our mechanical arm, pick up from here. This will be the extract from, and then this will be a deposit to, and then we should end up with an empty bucket in our hand, and that's where we also deposit to this. Oh, that's right. We have to have this turned in order for that to work. So there we go. And then this will be the deposit. So essentially, we pick up the full bucket, which I would assume will work with a full lava bucket, and then deposit onto here, and so on and so forth. I don't think it will just continue to loop. We'll have to make sure. We'll have to test and make sure. Oh, and also, I definitely want this right here to be upside down. I just think they look so good upside down. For now, I'm just going to tap in and hope that this pumps all the way to it. Beautiful. This all set. We just have to start the process by putting in a bucket. That should fill up. And looky there, blaze burner ready to rock and roll. So I've got to get some power onto these belts, and we are about to start making brass. And for this, I'm just going to try and send one at a time. And oh, yeah, that's not what we want. I I don't want it throwing the stuff out into the sky like that. I am going to need trapdoors to make sure that this doesn't fling once it gets completely filled up. Yep, and beautiful. Now, where did all that stuff go? Now, for this setup here, I am definitely going to want to make sure we get some threshold switches on the brass, because at the end of the day, I only need so much brass. I really don't want a ton of it. So I do want to use the threshold switch here to shut off these connectors. I think up here, I think I can put them directly on top of these funnels, just to prevent items from going into this setup anymore. Or I could just set up a system to just shut off the whole thing like that. That would probably work too. I'll just, yeah, I think I even keep them on me, right? Yeah, a clutch. And for right now, I'll just say send a signal if at or above 27, which is about an entire, well, it is an entire shulker box. And then we'll say shut off if we drop below 26. Let's say we pull a stack out. And this should send a redstone signal out. And I believe I have all of my redstone stuff here. Yes, so we'll put a redstone link on this. And up here on the clutch, we can put a redstone link, and this will shut this off, meaning it won't mix anymore. It won't use the product once we reach those values. For this, I will just use my standard hoe, and yeah, we'll have a hoe and also the brass. That should work. That should work just fine. Okay, now let's just make sure this is in receive mode by holding down shift and right clicking. Now that this all should technically work. It's always a little wonky, and I say should because I hope that I've done it right, because I can't see it happen immediately. We have to wait. But I think for now, this is it. This is our metalworks. This is producing all of the materials we are going to need, and we just simply have to sort of AFK it for a little bit. And this is going to be so nice because I needed copper so bad, and zinc and brass are just residuals, and so is the iron. I really wanted, though, to be able to build more with the copper. It just, I go through so much copper with the blocks. Now, I still think this setup could be optimized even more. I think that we could do another cobblestone module, and I think a cobblestone module, again, producing even more of the red sand would be a good idea. And I don't know if this could handle it. Maybe I would have to have another module on top of another cobble gen on top of that. Oh, man, because that is the one thing we are lacking, is essentially more red sand. Andesite, no problem. We got plenty of it, but yeah, the dripstone, it takes a hot minute for all of that to get produced. I mean, our only other option would be using this method right here, where you take nether quartz and mix it with diorite, but I mean, you can make nether quartz pretty easy. However, diorite, it's just a weird thing. And there's only one thing I can think of that can make this process even easier, because this is definitely not a viable recipe, And I'm thinking like using regular mechanical crafters. But now it's probably going to be time for me to clean up a lot of this area. And I have a lot of work ahead of me to make this look even remotely like a functioning factory. I do want to go in here and make sure all of my belts are covered as well. There is like just a lot of stuff to do. Now, this right here is still not, like I said, fully optimal. There's probably a lot of things I could do and can still do to make this even faster, but we'll have to see. Given a little bit of time AFKing, I really want to see how much this does produce over a given period of time. Before we wrap things up, something I want to do, that way it'll allow me to monitor this a whole lot better, is have some display boards. And what I want to do with the display boards is use a smart observer, link it to the actual item that I want to display on the display board, and then use a display link to then link to the display board and connect that to the smart observer. Then inside of here, we can go to amount of items, so matching the amount of items, and then we can apply a label like copper. And this is going to look kind of weird at first, especially with no power. We've got to get that linked in. But what I want is I want this to go on the bottom level, and then I also want a space. And you can kind of control this and manipulate it a little bit by, for example, adding a space here, and you can add like a space and then put your symbol that you want. And then you can set this to display on line 2, and then you can just right click to remove that. And that's going to kind of center it just a little bit. But yes, I expect these numbers to increase, but yeah, we're going to have this running all the way through. And so I now have brass automated. This is fantastic. We have iron, copper, zinc, brass, everything working. I did modify some things a little bit to speed things up, but I don't even think this is 100% necessary. I'm grabbing a little bit of the gravel, crushing a little bit more to produce a bit more sand so we can produce more clay. Added another one of the basins over here temporarily, just so I can build up more of the copper, because I do want to build quite a bit with this residual copper that we now have. But yes, I'm gonna, like I said, AFK this for like 8 hours, and I want to see how much we can actually produce in about an 8-hour time frame. And you can see we're already maxed out on brass. I already have this max loaded. But yes, the goal is to ultimately have all of these filled up, and then a lot of stuff just simply being voided. And these setups right here will automatically jam themselves, so we shouldn't have to worry about anything else there. Like, if this belt line fills up, items can no longer go into the chutes because the belt will back up, because the crushers don't actually start voiding items. They'll just hold them there. And this should just hold steady. And then that whole cascading effect, like I mentioned before, should take place where all of our other containers start filling up with tuff and things like that. So yes, I have now officially automated all of those different metal types, including brass, which is so good. But there's some things that we're gonna have to worry about, like redstone, and Stam has been cooking up some stuff with that. So I look forward to doing some fun there, getting a train routed over so that way we can grab some redstone. And as soon as we have redstone, I think it's time to make the brass mall. That's gonna have to be something we also work on, but that is gonna have to wait for another episode. And by the way, be sure to follow me over on Twitch if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on the live stream where we work on building this factory and making it look beautiful. That is going to be another episode though. So be sure to also click that subscribe button if you enjoyed today's video, and well, give this video a huge thumbs up. Also comment down below if you have any suggestions how I could improve this. I would love to hear from you down there. And well guys, with that, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that huge thanks is going to go out to Mr. Zammy. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in absolutely one of the best ways possible. What an absolute adventure, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. And as always, thanks for watching.